Hello there, welcome to my channel. We're going to have so much fun. Today we're going to do something that I haven't done in a long time. We're going to transform a card kit into a new project, a brand new project, and it's going to be a mini album, an adventure travel mini album. We're going to be using the brand new adorable Adventure Awaits card kit that originally creates 9 fun cards. I could not wait to get my hands on this kit. It's so playful and fun. As you can see, it has a little bit of a vintagey vibe. It has the 3 vehicles, the classic old truck and classic old car, as well as the little beach runner. So I thought right away when I saw this about this overall theme of it doesn't matter if we go to the mountains, to the beach, or to the city, my favorite place to go is you. So as long as we're together, it doesn't matter where we go, we're on an adventure, and my favorite place is you. And I thought how fun it might be to turn this into a cute little mini album. So as with all of our kits in our kits collection, all of the bases and envelopes are included in this kit, and all of the parts and pieces needed to create these 9 cards, 3 each of 3 cards. And I thought since we have this vintage vibe and this vehicle vibe, I actually had created a VW van for an event that we had a couple months ago that was a boho vibes. And I thought, why not create a minivan mini album and just have so much fun with this? And so what I did is I went to my Cricut and I grabbed that minivan that I love, and I will link in the description which item number it is. There's an M number. So when we enter into the search bar in the Cricut, we always put a hashtag in front and then an M number. The M number is the exact item number of the image that we're using. So I will add that M number, but it makes this cute little minivan, and I coordinated the colors in the set. Now, Coastal Cabana goes with this set, but I actually used Pool Party, and neither Coastal Cabana nor Pool Party I felt were like the perfect match. So I sort of used my judgment as far as which colors I would want to use. But I used Timid Tiger and I used Pool Party. I used for the yellow, the lighter yellow, which is the Lemon Lolly, and I also used a tiny little bit of real red and some silver foil paper and some black. Now, I actually took that minivan and welded a rectangle to the side of it and then sliced a couple holes out of it to create that little left side album feel. And then I did a little bit of slicing to create this interior piece because I knew we were going to want to recreate the interior piece over and over. And I loved the idea of using that as a pattern, both front and back, to be able to create different patterns within the mini album. So I actually cut one of each from each of the card bases, and then I fussy cut one of each from each of the envelopes. So the envelopes were easy enough. A couple of them I wanted to use the bottom so that there were the little diamonds on the lower right, and then a couple of them I wanted to use the top. So when I cut it out from the top of the envelope, I just left a little space so that I could trim around the top so there would be that rounded part of the album. Now, I really thought a lot about my husband, and I don't want to pretend to be something that we're not. And to be completely honest, although we've had the luxury of traveling a lot in our lifetime, and particularly myself, I've traveled a lot for work, I've traveled a lot for papercrafting. The truth of the matter is it's pretty rare for my husband to get to leave the ranch. Anyone who knows farming and ranching knows that the cattle need to eat no matter what day of the week it is, no matter whether or not it's a holiday. And it's very difficult for my husband to leave. He also loves it here. We both love to be home. And so I wrote a really sort of sentimental sentiment or note about my husband and about how it doesn't matter if we actually leave home or if we're riding around in an old truck. My favorite place to be is with him. And so I thought this would be a fun and cute little tribute album of both some of the travels that we've had and maybe some of the adventures that we've had that really didn't take us very far from home at all. So what I ended up creating is I'm using it as a 6x6 album. It's not quite 6x6. It's about 6 by a little under 5.5. And I created 3 timid tiger pages and 3 pool party pages. And right away, I thought I could use one of the sentiments from the card kit as the title of the album. I put a couple rings in place, at least temporarily. I actually did not plan on creating this mini album. I was just so inspired by the card kit. It's one of those projects that just sort of took on a life of its own. And so the rings are maybe a little larger. I may look for a couple smaller rings. I know I don't have any here, so I may have to pick some smaller rings up. And of course, we'll do some playful and fun decorating with some little bits and pieces of ribbon, which is something we used to always do with our little brag books and our mini albums, is tie small shreds of ribbon to the edges of those. So in my mind, I really wanted to be able to use the cards in the kit as the inspiration themselves. I want to be able to add photos and other elements, but in all honesty, I'm not a 3D thinker. So I'm not one of those that can say, oh, if you just create this and score this and do this and flip this, it's going to make this cute little interactive mini album element. That's not me. I have friends who are amazing at things like that, but I like to sort of think about it or not overthink about it and take one page at a time and maybe think of a little something that I can do to make an interactive element within the page. So I'm going to use 2-inch photos and create 2x2 flip flaps, and I want to pattern the pattern on the page exactly off of the card and just create this 2x2 flip flap that goes off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and create bumpers for each of the pages because I feel like it looks a little bit more finished. And then it also helps me to be able to tuck things up underneath the bumper and make it look a little bit more like the finished VW van on the inside as well. So I'm going to recreate the truck card. It has this cute little piece of vellum that you attach to the back of the truck. All of the pieces, like all of the card kits, are punched out already. You have no cutting, no measuring, no designing. You can punch everything out of the kit and the pieces are ready to go. This particular kit doesn't even have a stamp set. So by offsetting the 2x2 photos, I'm able to get 3 2x2 photos off to the side, and I did do just a 1/8 inch border on that. And so I have one willow white that is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 that acts as the base of that. I've cut a couple banners on the Cricut, and I've also cut a 1/2 inch strip out of one of the card bases. And then I'm going to trim that down a little bit to add a little flap element. So a lot of times in these cute little mini albums, there's all these little parts and pieces that hook into the rings that can act as journaling spots, decorative spots, little added pieces of paper to decorate. So as far as the journaling, over on the left, I created a 3x4 text box on a Word document. I typed inside that. Then I was able to lay that over the base piece that I made. So I needed to make 2 white base pieces on the Cricut when I actually created the base of the album. One of them for the journaling, and then I'm going to use another white one later on in the album. So for the next page, I'm going to get a couple photo opportunities in there and maybe go with a little bit of the more beachy vibe. So I have a 3x3 photo and a 2x2 photo, and I've actually created from a card base a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 and a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then I have 2 white willow pieces that are 1/8 inch above, 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. And I'm going to toggle those together. For now, I'm just going to add one palm tree, and I'm struggling a little bit as to how to lean the surfboards. I do end up adding another palm tree a little bit later in the video because I felt like the surfboards were just hanging out there at the edge of the photo. So now I'm going to pull in the card inspiration again, and I'm going to pull in the cute little beachy car. This is just such a cute and clever kit. So I love how they added the vellum to each of these larger vehicles, how they have the scene that sets the tone in the background, and some little added parts and elements that you can add to the scene. So I'm actually going to add the little beach car with foam tape. Again, do another 2x2. I cut out a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 from a card base, added a 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 photo mat. Now, my goal with this mini album was not only to not overthink it, but to try to get by with mostly the parts and pieces that are within the kit, aside from the Cricut elements that I'm going to need to make it an interactive album. I didn't want to add a lot of other elements. I wanted to make it a game to see how much of the album I could just completely complete without adding other stamps, dies, materials, and supplies. So I think I'm going to put this little title over here to the left. There are actually 4 titles that come in the card kit that are repeated over and over in the card kit. We have Enjoy the Journey. We have Let the Adventure Begin. We have Cruising to Another Year. And cruising to another year, driving by to say hello, let the adventure begin, and enjoy the journey. So what I'm doing with this one is I extended a 2x2. I created this little pocket on the Cricut and this little tab. And I elongated the 2x2. So I did 2 1/8 by 3 1/8. I added the photo to that. I do end up trimming the top off just a little bit so that the final size is 2 1/8 by 2 1/2 of the white willow. It fits a 2x2 photo on the bottom. I trim that top off to the 2 1/2 and add the tab on the top. The little pocket is just big enough to fit a 2x2 photo. So I've added a 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 piece of a card base, and I'm going to mount that on top of the pocket and put the little cityscape in the back. Now in the car is a little bit farther up on the road, but I have it a little bit more, I think I'm going to have it a little bit more on the edge. And then we'll add the cute little suitcases and the balloons. I love this one because it could be birthday. So when they say cruising to another year. It can be a birthday card, but yet it still has that travel vibe and that travel theme. And so I think we could also, if you wanted to, you could probably do a flip flap. It was pretty tight. So if you wanted to make a little pocket by just scoring a piece of paper and flipping it up, you could do that and make it just a little bit bigger, and it would allow you to do a 2x2 flip flap. Now, Stampin' Up, let me double check on this, but I don't believe they have 2x2 flip flaps, at least not yet. Let me double check on that really quick. They do not yet. So I have a ton of 2x2 flip flaps left over from close to my heart. And so I believe a Stampin' Up starts with 3x3. So you can just use a single photo instead of the flip flap if you don't have to happen to have any flip flaps in your stash. So I'm definitely going to want to come back and add some bling and look at some of the interactive elements. And like I said earlier, I'm just going page by page and thinking of little things that I can do to add interactive elements. It's a very basic mini album. I know that a lot of people create these fancy mini albums that have a pocket that flips open this way and a flap that flips open that way and a hidden door. But I really just wanted to take this super simple Adventure Awaits kit, not overthink it, lay it out, and quickly put this little album together and have no fuss about it and just make an alternative project. Now, I'm going to be honest and say that I have not made an alternative kit project since the first month I joined Stampin' Up! About 18 or 19 months ago. I did a few alternate projects when I first started Stampin' Up! Because it's kind of what I was used to doing. I was used to creating, but I've fallen in love with the kits from the kits collection, and I love them just the way they are. And I have such a busy life and so many things going on. I love the fact that I don't have to reinvent the wheel, that I can open up these kits, and I love the projects that Stampin' Up! Has already created for us. So I abandoned recreating kits a long time ago, but this one just spoke to me. I feel like if I have the idea, why not? But it's a pretty rare thing that I do a mini album. In fact, the last mini album I did was, I think, 2 years ago, and I collect cameras, and I created a mini album, mini camera, a mini album using a Candid Moments collection. And I had so much fun, and my paper crafters had so much fun with that. So maybe since it's something out of the norm, they'll have so much fun with this one as well. So quickly back on the previous page, I have a little partial circle that was a scalloped yellow that I tucked underneath a 3x4 photo. I have a 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 card base that I cut into a photo mat and added 2 little trees and driving by to say hello from the sentiments. Now this one, I created this little, 2 little, they're actually gift tags. So if you go to the Cricut and you type gift tag, a whole bunch of scored gift tags come up, and I put 2 of those together, and my vision is to have 5 2x2 photos. So I, again, will take some of those card bases. We have a ton of them still. We're barely using any of the parts and pieces, but we're going to make a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. 5 of those I used the blue diamond card base, and then we'll have 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 photo mats and 2x2 photos, and we'll put those on all of the flaps until we have 5 photos that we're able to get on that one album page. Now I'll definitely probably come back and do some decorating on this page. I need to see what I'm going to have left for trees or parts or pieces. There's also a little hole in the tag, so of course we want to put some bling or some ribbon or something to finish off that hole in the tag. Now I also created another little pocket on the Cricut that has a scallop top folded that in half, and I'm going to create a little pocket with it. And we can either put a photo card inside or we can put a journal card inside. So again, I went with 2.5 inches for the inside piece. I want it to stick up just a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit longer than what a photo would be. So I went with 3 inches. So 2.5 by 3 inches for the willow white piece, and you can put a 2x2 photo in there, or you can leave that blank for additional journaling, or you can even use an odd size photo if you have a Picturemate 400. And so you could maybe make a photo that was, say, 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. So you would still have a longer photo on the inside if you wanted to. I created some more of those rectangle pieces on the Cricut, a 1/2 inch piece out of a card base, and just snipped it off on a diagonal, and we'll add those to the rings in the center. I am going to go ahead and add a tree. We do end up with leftover cars, leftover trees, and leftover bases. So we could add either more pages. We could actually do some of these as cards and still get a mini album out of it. It's so fun. So now that I've created that pocket, you actually could probably put a 2x2 photo on the front. It would fit just fine on the front of that scalloped pocket. I've cut a little 1/2 inch strip off of the card base that is about a 1/2 inch by, I'm going to say, about 1.5. I've folded it in half and attached it to the back of the willow white piece so that I have a little pull tab. Again, my elementary dimensional skills here, nothing fancy, just making a few little interactive elements throughout. So we're getting close to the end of the album here, or at the end of how many pages I'm going to make. So I'm going to take a little scalloped half circle here, again, that I made on the Cricut, a 3 and, did I do 3.5 for that one? 3.5 by 3.5 card base that I cut into a photo mat, 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 photo mat, and then we'll have a 3x3 flip flap there so that we'll have 3 of those photos that will fit in that spot. We'll add one of the trees from the rustic truck card. I love all the vehicles, but I really wanted to end with the rustic truck again. So I started with the rustic truck, and because that's so representative of our life, I really wanted to end with that. So now we're going to pattern it off of the truck card again, but we're going to vary it a little tiny bit from the front of the card. So I think if I remember right, front of the album. So I think if I remember right, I had the offset just a little bit different. There's only so much direction that you can go when you're doing 6x6. And this is actually about 6 by 5.5. And so I want to be able to end with a photo. And so I'm going to leave that globe or that mountain scene more over to the left, pop up the truck to the right, add the presents to it and the tree behind it, and then add a little bit of a sentiment. So I think what I might do is end up cutting apart some of the words and just have it say a part of it, like maybe something like the adventure, like this is the adventure. And then I think we can go back from the beginning and take a look at each of the pages and see if we can dress up any of the pages with a little bit of bling. So I'm going to dig through my stash and see if I have anything in my stash that's going to coordinate with these colors. And I'm pretty sure there's some flat pearls that have timid tiger in it. I do have an extra palm tree, so I'm going to look around and see if there's anything that I could add that palm tree to. And there's those surfboards that are just hanging out there in the middle of nowhere with no tree to lean up against. So I actually have to work with it for a minute and tear a little bit off the bottom of a couple of those surfboards and then kind of jimmy the tree up a little higher up to the top. shop. And I think it's so simple, but so stinking cute. It was so easy to pull this together, just adding Cricut elements from the Cricut in the shape of the minivan. So you can take that M number minivan and you can create a 6 by about 5, under 5.5, maybe about 5.4. And just what I did first is I welded a little rectangle to the left of the minivan, and then I sliced out 2 little circles to make the album ring holes, and then I just saved that at 6 inches by about 5.4 inches, and then reduplicated that base over and over and over. I sliced out that little middle that I used to be able to fussy cut the centers out of the card bases, and it's so stinking easy and so cute. I just love it, and I can't wait to put all different kinds of adventure photos in there of my husband and I mucking around the ranch, driving truck, and the rare few little times when we do get to go places and create a cute little coffee table album for that. So I'm going to pull out some random ribbon. I had no idea if I even had anything that would go with these colors, but I actually found a couple little things that I did use. One is we had this really super fun pom-pom ribbon. It was a pool party pom-pom ribbon, and I was like, I have no idea. I can't even remember what collection it came out with. I think it was maybe Snow Days. Anyway, I will link all the ribbon that I used in the description if it's still available, but I used a little bit of yellow, I used a little bit of petal pink, and I used a little bit of the pom-pom pool party and some plain old ordinary white linen. I may still try to find at, at Walmart or somewhere some smaller rings, so it's a little bit of a tighter fit with the album, but I also don't mind. It's just a little bit of a whimsical, fun, loose brag book, so it's okay that they're just held together by those rings. We used to tie our albums just with the ribbon itself. We never even used rings, and then in fancier days, it seems like there's lots of SVGs that have, fancy mini albums that actually have bindings and everything with them. So going through the album, let's just see if we're loving it. Let's see if we love it and how many photo opportunities did we actually get in this mini album. I count 19 to 20 photo opportunities in this cute little bundle. Hey, thank you so much for taking a detour with me today and doing something completely off the cuff and different. I had so much fun, and I know you're going to have so much fun with the Adventure Awaits kit as well. Stay tuned to my website for all the details on this cute little project. I hope you'll hit like, subscribe, and come back soon for more.